take the old dirt road out past the hedgerows and the rusted iron gates. No path to the front door, holes in the floorboards, and the roof is leaking rain.
So we are at Park Cemetery in Fairmount, Indiana. And as you can tell by the sign, we're here to visit the grave of James Dean, the actor from the 1950s. Before we head into town of Fairmount, Indiana, take a walk here through the cemetery, and then we'll come back here and visit the grave of James Dean. But James Dean was born in Marion, Indiana, February the 8th of 1931. Shortly after he was born, James, I believe, was just an infant. His family moved to the Los Angeles, California area. Lived out there, and then unfortunately James' mother died of cancer when James was just 9 years old in 1940. So they came back here to Indiana for the funeral of his mother. And she's buried in Marion, Indiana, the town where James Dean was born. And it's not far from here. And James' father decided that he probably wouldn't be able to take care of James. So he left him here with his aunt and uncle. And James Dean grew up on a farm just down the road of here, where he would, live a normal childhood. Working on a farm is tough. He would milk cows, do whatever chores needed to be done. He graduated from Fairmount High School in 1949, and we will go to that spot where the school once was. It is no longer there. But he did play on the high school basketball team. And was very interested in drama and acting. So not long after graduating high school, James Dean left and returned to Los Angeles. And really the rest is history. And we'll leave here, we'll go into town, and we'll talk a little bit more about his life in Hollywood. And then we will return here to the final resting place of James Dean.
Just a ghost of Betty Dean.
So this is the childhood home of James Dean. This is the farm where he was sent to live with his aunt and uncle after the death of his mom in 1940. The farm is still owned and operated by James Dean's cousin. So I'll put some pictures up of him on this farm. Even though it's out in the country, it's still on the busy road. And I want to obviously respect the privacy of the residents here. But this is a place that many tourists come when they come to Fairmount to see, James Dean's grave. They like to come here also. But yeah, this is the Winslow farm where James Dean spent his childhood. This is Back Creek Friends Church. This is where the Dean family and the Winslow family attended church while James Dean was here in Fairmount during his youth. And even today, every year on September 30th, fans gather here for a memorial service to James Dean. And that service is attended by his family that still live here. Yeah, Back Creek Friends Church in Fairmount, Indiana. Just up the road from the Winslow farm. And if you're ever in Fairmount, Indiana, you gotta stop by the American Legion. Check out these cool displays. There's a helicopter. Some kind of, I would assume, boat propeller. Check this monster out. Isn't that the coolest? So this is Fairmount American Legion Post. So this is the location of the old Fairmount High School where James Dean attended back in the 1940s. And there's a sign here commemorating that fact. It says James Dean was here. I'll show a picture of the high school as it looked. So we are downtown Fairmount, and this is the corner on Main Street where the James Dean Museum is. And this is a mural painted on the side of the building. It was done in 2024, just incredible detail. So I figured I would stop here, talk about the life of James Dean. So after he graduated high school in 1949, here in Fairmount, he returned to Hollywood, attended UCLA, which his father did not approve of. But then he started to work in show business, and his first professional gig was a soft drink commercial. And he later appeared in minor roles in Hollywood, such as The Fixed Bayonets of 1951, Sailor Beware of 1952, and also in 1952, Has Anybody Seen My Gal? But his breakthrough roles, of course, we know his iconic role. First was East of Eden, 1955, and that performance earned him the first ever posthumous Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. This cemented his status as a cultural icon of teenage rebellion. And his last film, released after his death, Giant, in 1956. And this earned him a second posthumous nomination, this time for an Oscar. You know, sadly, September 30th of 1955, at about 5:45 in the afternoon, James Dean was driving along what is Route 466. Now it's California State Route 46. He was driving his Porsche 550 Spider, which he had nicknamed Little Bastard. When a car pulled out in front of him. And James Dean didn't have a chance to stop. And he hit the car nearly head on. This was at the junction of State Route 46 and California State Route 41 near Shalom, California. James Dean suffered multiple injuries and he died at the Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital. The driver of the car who pulled in front of James Dean, Donald Turnipseed, he was injured, but he was not charged in the death of James Dean. That ended the life of one of Hollywood's most iconic actors, though appearing in only a handful of films. But remembered as such a giant of the 1950s Hollywood, Indiana. This is the location of the funeral service for James Dean, which was held on October the 8th of 1955. It said there were some 600 mourners inside the church and over 2,400 outside on the grounds of the church during the service. There were no celebrities in attendance. You know, back then it was quite a distance from Hollywood out to here in Fairmount, Indiana. You know, travel back then wasn't like it is now, and it just wasn't feasible for celebrities to come out here for a funeral. But the gentleman that was in the car with James Dean was here in attendance. Elizabeth Taylor did send flowers. And I will show a picture of carrying the casket of James Dean out these doors. So this is Friends Church, Fairmount, Indiana, where the funeral service for James Dean was held. October the 8th of 1955. And as you can see, these white rocks along the drive. Well, here at James Dean's grave, fans have signed this rock. And this is the grave of James Dean. And you can see he gets a lot of loving. I'll show pictures of fans that have taken their picture here at the headstone of James Dean from years past. And you may notice the headstone might look a little different. I believe this is a replacement many years ago, though. You know, people do come out and chip away at celebrity headstones and so I will place my rock right here and let them know I was here. See, if you're ever in Fairmount, please stop by and pay your respects to James Dean. And this is the grave of his father, Winton, and stepmother, Ethel. James Dean will forever be a Hollywood icon, though his career was cut short. But he was brought back to rest in his home of Fairmount, Indiana.